Hi, welcome to The Easy Vegan, brought to you by TasteBetter.com. My name's Jason, and today we are going to make a raw recipe that we found in an old magazine that was donated to the Toronto Vegetarian Association, and I stole it to review it to make sure that it was suitable. But the recipe kind of caught my eye because it was called sea balls, and come on, it's sea balls! But as it turns out, they were a little runnier, so we found a way to make them into Seabiscuits, which might not be good either if there's that movie. But anyway, we can just go ahead with this right now, and life is good. So we're going to need there's not a lot of prep you need for this, although to make, in terms of materials and such, you will want to get a food dehydrator. If you don't have one, that's okay. You can still make the thing, and it makes a good sandwich spread or something like that, as you'll see. But the only prep you need to do in this, which I really like, you just got to soak some almonds for an hour or two. And that's all. You need 2 cups of almonds. So we've got that here, and we're going to take that in the food processor. Ideally, you'll want to use a Vitamix as well for this, but when I did this last time, I just did it all straight in the Vitamix, and it was a lot of stuff for it to process. And the Vitamix is awesome, but it kind of shorted out the motor for a little while, just overheated, which is fine. It just takes like half an hour for it to recover. So we're going to try this all in the food processor, and then depending how that goes, we may or may not put it in the stronger blender. So we've got 2 cups of almonds. We are also going to need 4 things of celery. Stalks, I think they're called. I'm going to put these in. We're also going to need a bigger food processor someday if we keep doing these things, because I think it'll fit. Just ram the lid down, right? So I'm just breaking this up so it'll fit. Do whatever you have to do. Next thing you're going to need is a carrot. I don't know what size carrot, just a carrot. Okay, and we may have to process this a little before we can put the rest of it in, but yeah, we'll do that. We're going to need the juice of a lemon, and you could get like a reamer. You could just use bottled lemon juice, or you could be all macho and go "Argh!" and just squeeze it in yourself, and ha ha ha. Well, the joys of cooking is working with your hands, right? I like this recipe because there's not a lot of science to it beyond put everything in a thing and grind it all up, so life is good. The one ingredient that you may have a little hard time finding is dulse, D-U-L-S-E. Dulse is a seaweed that I knew growing up it came from the Maritimes, and it's a very much acquired taste to eat it just like a snack, which you certainly can. It's got a very strong smell to it. I found this in the grocery store in the seafood section of all places, which I guess kind of makes sense, but I had to look at a bunch of seafood. Wasn't crazy about it, but on the bright side, then vegan stuff is taking over the grocery store. Yeah, so we also going to put some more stuff in, but the food processor bowl is getting full. So once we grind it all up, it's going to get a little better. So let's do round 1. So I've had to go through a few rounds so far of chopping and mixing and kind of helping the stuff get in, because the size of the bowl means like that big carrot is getting just tossed around a bunch. But I've got more room in the food processor now, so we can finish putting the rest of the ingredients in. There's only 2 more things you need. One is a red pepper, and I've just chopped it up already into chunks and taken out the core. And lastly, you need a tablespoon of paprika. Okay, we'll just grind that up a little more. Okay, I think we've got something that's actually workable. This took a little longer than I thought it would. There was about a dozen times where I had to take the lid off of the food processor and just mash down the carrots and celery so they get all integrated into the mix. But we've got something now that is, it's got a pretty mealy texture. And the Vitamix, if you use that instead or use that afterwards, you will get a slightly smoother consistency. There's still bits of almond and stuff like that, but the flavor is going to be the same. It's just the texture that's going to be different. So this is perfectly workable in the food processor. Just be patient and let it run for a good long time, and it'll do its thing. And you know what? It beats slaving over a hot stove. It's one of the nice things about raw. So at this point, as I said, the original recipe was called sea balls, and if we take this out, you could kind of ball something, but it's pretty runny. I think part of that is the celery and the red pepper have a lot of water in them. So we've got some balls, but they're not really things you'd be serving on a platter or something like that. So best way to deal with that is using your dehydrator. Though if you don't have a dehydrator, or if you just think this is good as it is, because it does have a very nice flavor, you can use this as like a spread. Obviously, if you use it as a sandwich spread on baked bread, it defeats the point of the rawness, but it's still, if you're not a purist, or you can wrap it up in cabbage leaves or whatever it is that the raw food people do. Cabbage leaves, lettuce leaves. So using a dehydrator, they come with a bunch of trays. Ours does anyway, and it comes with like a mesh kind of platform on it. And this might be a little messy if we were to put the stuff directly on that. So there's a thing you can use. It's called Teflex sheets. They just look like this. I got mine on eBay. They cost just a couple bucks each, and you take care of them. They last a real long time. You just have to wipe them off when you're done. They've got like a non-stick kind of coating, probably made with Teflon, which isn't good if you use it at a high heat. But since we're just dehydrating stuff, I guess it's probably a safer kind of version. But that's apparently what's done. So all we're going to do, I will use my spoon, and we're just going to spoon out spoonfuls. It's appropriate for a spoon, and just pat them down into some kind of a cookie shape, although it's kind of a fishy tasting cookie. And we'll just pat a bunch of those down, pop it in the dehydrator. Even after 6 hours, they'll start to lose enough moisture that you can actually eat them. They'll be soft, kind of like chewy, biscuity kind of things. We've left them in for as long as like 48 hours, and then they start to get hard like crackers. So it really depends what consistency you like from there. But that's basically it. Seabiscuits.